Former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort and his business partner Rick Gates appeared before a federal judge again today. It was their third court appearance after their 12-count indictment last week, and the two men were hoping to be released from home confinement ahead of their trials. CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid joins us now from Washington. Paula, you were there at the courthouse. What happened?
The judge was not able to relax these conditions that both Manafort and Gates have to abide by while this case goes forward. Both men are currently confined to their homes. They have to wear GPS monitoring bracelets, and they have to promise to pay millions of dollars if they don't return to court. Defense attorneys have been trying to convince the judge to allow their clients to remove those GPS monitoring devices. But Vlad, the judge has made it clear she is not willing to do that. She still believes that these men do pose a flight risk to a certain extent, so she will not take out the GPS monitoring. But she said she would be open to allowing them to leave their homes, specifically to travel to states where they do business. So that's for Manafort, that's New York, Virginia, Florida. For Mr. Gates, that would be traveling between D.C. and Virginia. But at this point, she's unable to officially relax these conditions because we still don't know exactly how much either of these men are worth. And knowing your net worth, that's really essential to creating a bond or a bail package, because you can post $3 million. That sounds like a lot. But if you're worth $100 million, $3 million isn't going to prevent you from flying off to the Ukraine. So she still seems a little bit frustrated that we don't have enough information on how much these men are worth. But she hopes the government and defense attorneys can come to some kind of agreement by the end of the day. Because as you noted, this is the third hearing where this has been discussed with no resolution.
So, Paula, what kind of assets did Manafort offer to put up for bail? I'm guessing it was a little bit more than the fancy suits and the rugs that apparently cost $1 million. I don't know where you get rugs that cost $1 million, but he apparently had them according to the indictment.
We actually had a colleague go to that rug store not too far away from here to investigate. She was kicked out. But we did investigate that claim in the indictment because it was questionable. How do you find rugs? There's a place. It's not too far from here. It's recommended in the indictment. But in terms of what assets that he put up, he specifically offered properties. These are, of course, his assets that are arguably worth the most. And most interestingly, he offered his apartment in Trump Tower in New York. In addition to that, he offered a property in New York and his primary residence in Florida. But the government really didn't accept this because they said, you have not shown us proof how much these properties are worth. And as the judge noted, part of why these two men are on trial is because they have not been honest in their financial dealings with the government and other entities. So the government said, we're not going to take you at your word that this is worth $3 million. We want more proof. And this is really why they have not been able to come to an agreement on the release conditions for these men. It's because there's this constant back and forth and a lot of distrust about the financial claims the defendants make.
I don't know, but I'm only speculating that Mr. Manafort is probably ruining the day he ever took an apartment in Trump Tower. But let's talk about Special Counsel Robert Mueller's estimates as to how long he will need to present this case against Manafort and Gates. He's asking for 3 weeks. Is that a normal time period?
Absolutely. That seems like a pretty reasonable amount of time. But of course, if this actually gets to trial, that would suggest that these men have not copped plea deals. They have not arranged to cooperate in exchange for dropping some of these charges. And also that arguably the defense believes that this is a case that they can beat. Now, we know that Manafort's defense attorneys have said publicly that they believe that the FARA, the failure to register as a foreign agent, that particular aspect of this case, they think it's weak. They point to the fact that the government has only brought about half a dozen FARA cases and only secured one conviction. So it's still a big question whether or not this will go to trial. It's still too soon to set a trial date, but we might get one in early December.
All right. Paula Reid reported for us in D.C. Paula, as always, we thank you. In a recent shake